Hi, it's Kristen. I just wanted to make a quick video on how I'm teaching myself Japanese. I've tried a lot of different methods over the years. I've been learning for quite a while now. I would say maybe 5-6 years. I've tried everything from learning in a school environment to teaching myself online, buying programs, and even going to a language school in Japan. Personally, for me, my favorite methods have been self-study online, and everyone's different, so I'll go over my favorite programs to use and why I really prefer these to anything else that I've tried. So right off the bat, if you're going to try anything, I would highly recommend JapanesePod101.com. For me, this is the best program because it has both English speakers and native Japanese speakers that build these lessons. So what the lessons consist of is basically a dialogue in Japanese where you'll hear like everyday conversation that will be kind of picked apart, and grammar can be all broken down into digestible pieces that is easy to memorize. After you go through the lesson, you can also add words that you learned in the lesson to a flashcard deck on the website. Also, every lesson has a PDF for lesson notes with everything written out, and then it also has some extra things that are not talked about in the audio version. So it's always good to check that out, especially if you're learning kanji. There's also a kanji worksheet in every lesson that you can get. So for me, why this is so helpful is that I am an auditory learner. For me, hearing the conversations is so much easier to really understand when you're supposed to use a certain phrase or word and in what context. Each podcast lesson is also quite short, so you can get through just like 15 minutes to a half hour a day of good Japanese study. And you know, consistency is key. You have to keep doing this every single day or else you're gonna lose something. That's of course true with any language learning, but especially those languages that are more difficult, I would definitely recommend you do this every day, at least some sort of review every day. That's where the flashcards really come in handy too, because every time you finish a lesson, those words that you have learned, you can choose to put those into a flashcard deck. This flashcard deck uses spaced memory repetition, just like Anki program, if you've ever heard of that. A lot of language learners really like this, and so it's all just built into the same website. So yeah, it really works for me. I would highly recommend it to anybody. If you did just want a free program though, Anki is amazing. It's also amazing to be able to make your own flashcard deck for any time that you come across a word in like a show you're watching, or if you are talking to Japanese people, or if you're in school for Japanese. It's great to be able to put that on any words that you learn onto that kind of program so that you won't forget those words. The way Anki and also the Japanese Pod flashcards work is they're going to show you that flashcard ideally right before you forget that word. That's the best time to review your flashcards so that those actually stay in your memory longer and you actually learn quicker. I do use Anki even though I also have the Japanese Pod flashcards, because I will do things like speak to Japanese people and they will teach me things, and I'll like to put those into a flashcard deck. Or I could go on HelloTalk and try to make my own sentences and be corrected if I make a mistake, and I can put those mistakes and corrections into my Anki flashcard deck as well. Also, if you're watching a show, you can stop the show. If there's a sentence that you don't understand or a word you don't understand, take a screenshot of it, put it as on your flashcard deck. That really helps also to be able to know what kind of context you should be using certain phrases and words. That's really important to know, especially in a language where there are different ways of saying the same thing. It's really important to know when to use what words and how. Another thing I like to do is look up words that are specific to what I want to use Japanese for. So for instance, if you just want to have casual conversation, then you could look up words that are related to your interests. If you're interested in what you're talking about, chances are you're going to remember it better. And then what I like to do is go on places like HelloTalk or italki. You can post sentences about really pretty much anything, like a Facebook feed on HelloTalk, and then people will come and correct those sentences for you. And then you can also make friends and you can talk to them more about the things that interest you. Places like Italki are going to be great too if you want to have just a personal tutor who will work with you specifically on your goals. So for instance, if you're like me and you want to use Japanese in a customer service setting, what I did was I got a personal tutor who went through all of my customer service material with me and answered all of my questions for me. Basically went step by step, taught me everything I didn't know about that material. I really think for language learning, personalization is key. Textbooks really never worked that great for me. Again, because I am an audio learner and also because the example sentences in a textbook are not something that you're going to try and memorize and use in your everyday life. They're usually just trying to show you the correct way to form a sentence. But in real life, you're going to want to focus on sentences that you are actually going to be saying to people. These are going to stick in your brain way longer than anything you're going to read in a textbook. I'm sure you've heard this many, many times before if you've been looking into how is the best way to study a different language. The best way is always going to be talking to native speakers. I have heard all the excuses from people who want to learn Japanese that it's hard to find a native Japanese speaker to talk to. But I mean, you're not going to probably find a native Japanese speaker in your neighborhood, but there are ways to find them. There are always going to be Japanese people online who are also looking for someone to talk to in English. So go on Italki, HelloTalk, those are the things I use. But those are gonna be a really good bet finding people that want to talk to you. So basically, to sum it up, I know I've covered a lot of information in a short amount of time here, but basically what I do every day is do a JapanesePod101.com lesson, just a short little podcast, and then make sure I put everything that I've learned into my flashcard deck. The key here really is consistency. Just make sure you're at least doing that every day. And then in your free time, if you do like watching Japanese shows or talking to Japanese people, then make sure you're putting things that you learn from that into your other flashcard deck. Just make sure you're also making time to speak to an actual Japanese speaker at least once a week. And then just from that, you'll see a lot of progress. So I hope I gave you some pretty good tips that you can take something from this and implement it into your own study routine. Like I said, I have tried a lot of other methods and this is what has worked for me. So I'll put links in the description box down below. Please leave any questions or comments that you might have. If you want some more details on some of these tips or other methods that I've tried that have not worked for me, just let me know and I'll make another video about that to give some more details. Thank you for watching and I wish you all the best of luck on your language learning journey. See you around. Bye-bye.